Providence Municipal Court. A business leader dressed in a $2,000 outfit enters Judge Frank Caprio's chamber, radiating an attitude that dominates the space. She is present for a basic speeding infraction.
It should be a brief matter, perhaps involving a minor penalty, and then she would return to her executive office. However, 42-year-old Jennifer Hartwell chooses a path that will torment her forever. While Judge Caprio addresses her, attempting to be just and to hear her out, she commits an act so stunningly rude that the whole gallery is stunned. She lifts her hand and shows Judge Frank Caprio her middle finger directly in the public courtroom, on video, before many observers. What follows is not simple justice. It is an exemplary lesson on why honoring the institution is mandatory and why certain errors are irreversible.
Before we disclose the crushing outcomes of Jennifer's burst of anger, I must ask you to press subscribe immediately as we are quickly approaching 600,000 subscribers.
And 97% of our audience still has not subscribed to Judge Stories. If this narrative about respect, repercussions, and the legal system protecting its honor convinces you that courtrooms are hallowed grounds, please leave a comment below, because by the conclusion of this video, you will comprehend why Judge Caprio's reaction to this offense became iconic. Here is a question. When did our culture lose sight that certain locations and certain individuals warrant immediate respect, no matter your personal feelings? Because what occurred to Jennifer Hartwell demonstrates that contempt of court is not merely a term, it is a boundary you must never cross. Tuesday morning, 10:45, Providence Municipal Court. The court officer announces Jennifer Hartwell, ticket for speeding, 68 in a 45-mile-per-hour area. Jennifer enters as if she commands the room. Designer attire, likely Armani, costly leather bag, a Rolex is seen on her arm. Her hair is immaculate, her cosmetics perfect. Every aspect of her proclaims wealth and position. But there is another element in her posture, disdain, her walk to the stand, the scornful look across the room, the nearly unconcealed impatience as she must wait for the judge to complete his documents. Judge Frank Caprio glances up with his typical kindness. "Good morning, Miss Hartwell. I understand you are here about a speeding offense on Highway 95. Please explain the situation." Jennifer's reply is frigid. "Your Honor, I was traveling to a critical corporate appointment. The speed limit on that section is absurdly slow. Everyone drives 65 to 70. I was merely keeping pace with traffic." Her voice is not informative. It is blaming, as though the traffic regulations are a personal annoyance. Judge Caprio stays calm. "Miss Hartwell, the officer recorded you at 68 in a 45-mile-per-hour zone. That is 23 miles over the limit. That is substantial. With all due respect, Your Honor, that is, the section's speed limit was just lowered from 55 to 45. It is a speed trap meant to produce income. Everybody is aware of this." An uneasy transition occurs in the courtroom. A few regulars look at one another. This lady is already in a precarious position and appears unaware. Judge Caprio's face remains neutral, but his tone becomes a bit more resolute. "Miss Hartwell, the speed limit is clearly marked, regardless of your opinion on it. Driving 23 miles per hour over the limit endangers other motorists." Jennifer releases a loud sigh, the type you would give a child who is being intentionally obstinate. "Your Honor, I have driven for 25 years without a single accident. I am a safer driver at 68 miles per hour than most people are at 45. The prosecutor interjects. "Your Honor, I must point out that Miss Hartwell has 3 previous speeding offenses within the last 5 years. 2 were settled with fines. One was lessened by attending traffic school. Jennifer's face reddens with fury. Those have no bearing on this matter. Judge Caprio examines the file. Actually, Miss Hartwell, they are very relevant. They demonstrate a recurring pattern of speeding infractions. This is not an isolated error. This is a habitual disrespect for traffic regulations. I do not habitually disregard anything, Your Honor. I have appointments to keep and speed limits that are outdated for modern vehicle safety. The law is arbitrary, she retorts. The atmosphere in the courtroom grows more tense. Even individuals with no court experience can tell this woman is making her situation worse. Judge Caprio makes a final attempt to be sensible. Miss Hartwell, I comprehend that you believe the speed limit is excessively low, but the correct course of action is to appeal to the city council or the traffic department, not to simply disregard the posted signs. Your Honor, with all due respect, I do not have the time to challenge the local government on every poorly designed traffic rule, but you do have the time to appear in traffic court multiple times. It is a valid observation stated without ill intent, but Jennifer interprets it as ridicule. Subscribe to Judge Stories YT if you think that respecting the judicial system is the cornerstone of a civilized society. Judge Caprio examines the officer's statement and the traffic camera evidence. Miss Hartwell, Officer Patterson reported that when he stopped you, you were confrontational and at first declined to show your license. Is that correct? I inquired why I was being stopped. That is my right. You certainly have that right. However, the officer's report states you informed him he was wasting your time and that you had more important matters to attend to than dealing with inept traffic policing. Jennifer does not refute it. I was running late for a meeting, Your Honor. A very crucial meeting that resulted in a financial loss for my company because I was detained on the roadside. Miss Hartwell, you were late because you were speeding. The officer did not force you to speed. You made the decision to violate the law. The law is arbitrary. Judge Caprio's patience is diminishing. Although he keeps his calm, Miss Hartwell, the law is not random. Speed limits are in place for protection. Your idea that you are exempt because you are rushed does not render it random. I did not claim I was exempt. Your behavior indicates otherwise. 4 speeding citations in 5 years. Police officer, standing in my court, implying that speed restrictions are irrelevant to you since you have significant, the unthinkable moment. Middle finger, appointments. Jennifer's jaw tightens. Your Honor, I arrived here anticipating justice, not a reprimand. Justice is precisely what you are receiving. Miss Hartwell, the penalty for traveling 23 miles over the speed limit is $385, plus a compulsory driving safety program because of your previous infractions. $385? That is excessive. That is the statute, Miss Hartwell. The identical statute that pertains to every other person who enters this courtroom. Jennifer's face is crimson now. Her hands are clutching the podium so firmly her knuckles are pale. This is ridiculous. I manage a department at Northeastern Financial. I make choices that impact hundreds of staff. And I am being handled like a lawbreaker because I drove 68 miles an hour on a freeway. Judge Caprio's tone is steady, yet not harsh. Miss Hartwell, your position and earnings do not excuse you from traffic regulations. The individual who preceded you was a courier earning the lowest pay. Jennifer glares at Judge Caprio with sheer anger in her gaze. Her breathing is labored. Her face is red. And then, in an instant of remarkable foolishness, driven by privilege and rage, she does, and it. She lifts her right hand and directs her middle finger straight at Judge Frank Caprio. The courtroom bursts into shocked murmurs. Several individuals exclaim, "Oh my God!" Audibly, the bailiff instantly moves forward. The court recorder's fingers stop over her machine. Judge Caprio's expression changes. The kindness that is always present, the empathy that characterizes his court, it disappears, substituted by icy, contained anger. Miss Hartwell, his voice is soft, but resonates powerfully. Did you just perform a vulgar gesture at this court? Comprehending the scale of her error, but too arrogant to retreat, raises her chin boldly. I communicated my view of these proceedings, Your Honor. Incorrect response. Disastrously incorrect response. You communicated your view. Judge Caprio restates deliberately by presenting this court the middle finger during open hearing. On the record, in front of observers, Jennifer, contempt of court, 30 days in jail, remains silent, but her look reveals she is beginning to grasp she is in grave difficulty. Miss Hartwell, do you comprehend what you have just done? I performed a motion, Your Honor. Liberty of speech. The courtroom is utterly quiet. Everybody understands they are observing something remarkable and not in a positive manner. Judge Caprio rises. When Judge Caprio rises, you are aware something significant is occurring. Miss Hartwell, your offense was not solely against me. It was an affront to this tribunal. You disrespected the entire legal framework. You showed disregard for every individual who values lawful governance. And you acted with deliberate forethought and unmistakable purpose. Your Honor, You are no longer permitted to speak, Miss Hartwell. You will now listen. The authority in his tone instantly quiets her. Throughout my 3.5 decades presiding, I have encountered individuals filled with rage, anxiety, fear, and bewilderment. I have extended mercy to lone parents unable to pay penalties. I have canceled citations for seniors living on limited funds. I have offered opportunities to youth who erred. Do you understand the reason? Jennifer remains silent because they demonstrated deference. Judge Caprio addresses the bailiff. Bailiff, come forward. The bailiff approaches the bench. Judge Caprio speaks audibly for all present. Take Miss Hartwell into custody. She is found in contempt of this court. Jennifer's eyes widen in astonishment. Wait, what? You cannot. I absolutely can, Miss Hartwell. And I am doing so. 2 court officers advance toward the podium. Jennifer retreats a step, now clearly frightened. Your Honor, I beg you. I apologize. I did not intend. You did not intend to show disrespect to this court. You purposefully raised your middle finger, Miss Hartwell. There was evident premeditation. You were fully aware of your actions. The officers now stand beside Jennifer. She appears on the verge of tears. All her professional poise has vanished. Miss Hartwell, I find you in contempt of court. The sentence is 30 days in the Providence County Jail, with the option of reduction to 10 days should you display sincere regret and comprehension of why your conduct was improper. 30 days, Your Honor. I cannot be incarcerated. I have employment. I have obligations. You ought to have considered that prior to choosing to offend this court. Jennifer's voice now trembles. Please. Your Honor, I committed an error. A grave error. Please do not impose this. Judge Caprio's demeanor remains firm. Miss Hartwell, everyone appearing in this court has made errors. That is why they are here. The distinction is that most individuals exhibit respect, even while acknowledging wrongdoing. You exhibited scorn. I implore you, Your Honor. Furthermore, the initial fine of $385 is now raised to the maximum of $1,000 for repeated high-speed offenses. You must also finish a compulsory 40-hour driving instruction program, and your driving privileges are revoked for 90 days until fulfillment. Jennifer now weeps openly, makeup streaking her cheeks. Please, Your Honor, I will do whatever you ask. I will offer a public apology. I will pay any penalty you set. Please do not incarcerate me. Miss Hartwell, the moment for apologies was before you made that sign. The occasion to show respect was upon entering this courtroom. You selected hubris and disdain instead. The prosecutor, who has been observing with fitting gravity, adds, Your Honor, for the record, Miss Hartwell's contempt was seen by me, the court personnel, and about 40 people in the audience. It was intentional and clear. Thank you. Counsel, Miss Hartwell, you will be processed and detained awaiting transfer to the county jail. Jennifer glances around frantically as if someone in the courtroom could rescue her. Nobody looks back at her. She brought this on herself and... Everyone is aware, Your Honor. Jennifer attempts once more, her voice cracking. I am 42 years old. I have never been arrested. Please, I am sorry. I am truly sorry. Judge Caprio finally sits back down, his tone a bit less severe, but still
resolute. Miss Hartwell, I am going to tell you something, and I want you to pay close attention. Jennifer nods through her tears. The contempt charge remains. You will be processed, and he...
LD, however, I will offer you one chance. One to show real comprehension of your wrongdoing. A spark of hope appears on Jennifer's face. You will spend the next 72 hours in custody. During that period, you will compose a thorough account describing why your behavior was wrong, why respect for the legal system is important, and what you have learned. If that account shows sincere regret and understanding, not merely fear of punishment, but real grasp of why courtroom
respect is vital, I will think about shortening your sentence. Yes, Your Honor, yes, I will do it, thank you. I am not done, Miss Hartwell. If your statement is self-centered, if it justifies, if it shows you still do not grasp the seriousness of displaying contempt to a court, you will complete the full 30 days. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor. I understand fully, bailiff. Take Miss Hartwell into custody as the officers escort Jennifer Hartwell from the courtroom and handcuffs her.
Expensive suit now appearing absurd in this setting. Judge Caprio speaks to the full gallery.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you just observed is something I never liked doing. Holding someone in contempt, sending someone to jail. These are not steps
I take lightly. The courtroom listens intently, but they are measures I take seriously when needed, because this courtroom stands for something greater than any single case. It stands for the rule of law. It stands for the idea that we settle conflicts through a civilized process, not through power or wealth or standing. Judge Caprio motions toward the vacant podium where Jennifer stood moments ago. Ms. Hartwell arrived here thinking that her status, her earnings, her hectic life qualified her for preferential treatment when she did not receive it, when she was informed she must adhere to the same regulations as everyone else. She reacted with the utmost sign of disrespect. Some of you might think 30 days is severe for a simple act, but that act was not merely impolite. It constituted an assault on the very basis of our judicial framework. If we permit individuals to display disrespect towards the court without facing repercussions, we are implying the court holds no significance, and if the court is insignificant,
then the law is insignificant.
And if the law is insignificant, then disorder ensues. An older gentleman in the rear nods emphatically. He appears to be in his 70s, sporting a veteran's hat. Judge Caprio observes him. Sir, I notice you nodding. Would you care to express your views? The elderly man rises gradually. Your Honor, with your permission to address the court, please. I am Robert Chen. I served in the Korean War. I have been visiting this courthouse for different reasons over 4 decades, and I wish to state you made the correct decision. The courtroom audience murmurs in assent. When I was younger, we were instructed that certain things are inviolable. The flag, the church, the courtroom, locations where you demonstrate respect instinctively, whether you desire to or not. That woman. He shakes his head with disdain. She neglected that, or more probably, she was never instructed. Thank you, Mr. Chen, Judge Caprio states with warmth. You are completely correct. Respect for institutions is not outdated, it is fundamental. Another voice, a woman in middle age. Your Honor, I teach high school. I witness this behavior daily. Young people who believe regulations do not concern them because their parents possess wealth or influence. Observing that woman face consequences provides me with hope. Judge Caprio nods. That is precisely the problem. We have fostered a society where some individuals think their standing excuses them from fundamental civility. It does not. A business leader adheres to the identical traffic regulations as a courier. A wealthy person demonstrates the same deference in court as an individual earning the lowest wage. That is not tyranny. That is fairness. Where are you viewing from? Share your city if you agree that respect for the judicial system must never be a choice. Judge Caprio proceeds. Miss Hartwell will have 72 hours to reflect on her actions, to genuinely contemplate them, not merely fret about the penalties. If she comes out of that period comprehending why courtroom respect is vital, I will contemplate a more merciful approach. If she emerges still believing she was treated unjustly, she will complete the entire term, because here's what I want every viewer to grasp. This courtroom functions to administer justice, but justice demands respect for the procedure. You can dispute a verdict, you can challenge it, you can even believe the judge is mistaken, but you display respect for the establishment while you do so. Miss Hartwell forgot that, or maybe no one ever instructed her. Now she has 72 hours in a detention cell to learn what ought to have been instilled in her during her youth. Certain locations, certain establishments, certain individuals warrant respect irrespective of your momentary feelings. Judge Caprio lifts his gavel. The next occasion, someone enters this courtroom, believing their wealth or status places beyond basic respect. I wish they recall Jennifer Hartwell. I wish they recall that showing disrespect in court carries actual, swift, and severe outcomes. The session is paused. The judge's gavel drops.
Subscribe to Judge Stories YouTube immediately for additional instances where the judicial process upholds its honor and imparts teachings that ought to remain remembered.
Jennifer Hartwell entered that court as a business leader. She departed in restraints as a signal that honoring the law is not optional, and court contempt is not symbolic. It is a grave matter with grave results. Judge Frank Caprio demonstrated that afternoon what every seasoned American feels deeply. Certain principles are inviolable. Certain boundaries must not be breached. And when an individual oversteps, there have to be repercussions, or the framework itself starts to weaken. This represents justice protecting its own integrity.